And again, if feeling the bottom of the foot isn't a place that's accessible to you, I want you to bring your awareness to the bones of the ankles. And there's the talus bone, the talus bone, is a bone that's shaped like that rides right here, and it allows for the mobility of the ankle. And I should have brought my little foot model. But just bring your awareness to that bone on each side, and kind of notice how you feel the weight going through that bone. How you feel the connection of that bone up to the knees and up to the hips. And then super simple, what I want you to do is we're going to shift our weight onto the right leg. Okay? So it's almost like you're on a boat here, and then you're going to shift the weight over to the left leg. And just notice what you notice to shift the weight. How do you do that? How does it feel the same on both sides? How does it feel different? Does it feel like you can go purely side to side, or as you go to one side, do you kind of need to go forward or back to kind of shift the weight? Just notice. It's not right, it's not wrong. Okay, now what I want everybody to do is take the feet a little bit wider. Okay, and then just feel how the weight is here with a wider stance. Come back to that awareness of the bone, that talus bone. It's kind of shaped like this in both of the ankles, and just notice how the weight's going through that. Notice how the knees feel. Notice how your buttocks feel, how the low belly feels. And we're going to take 3 breaths, and we're going to make some sounds with the exhale, okay? So there's multiple diaphragms in our body. The breathing diaphragm is one that most of you might be familiar with, or some of you might be familiar with. The diaphragm attaches at so if you bring your fingers up and feel the bottom of your rib cage in the front here, all the way up to the breastbone. So this is the front attachment of the diaphragm. Then the diaphragm attaches all the way around to the back ribs, which are lower than our front ribs, okay, which surprises some people, because I think we often think our rib cage ends at our shoulder blades, but the space between the last rib and the pelvis it's not much. That's my pelvis, and that's my bottom rib on me. So kind of just find where that is on you. So the diaphragm attaches at the bottom of the rib cage and the spine and comes around to the front. It's shaped like this, okay, and rests in there. So if you were to cut yourself in half in a magic show and look up, it would kind of look like the inside of an umbrella, that sort of shape. Now, the diaphragm isn't a solid muscle. The aorta from the heart goes through it, okay? So if that's tight, one of our hoses is going to become kinked. Does that make sense? Okay, so the aorta, which is a primary pulmonary artery, it flows through there. So it's important that the diaphragm is also kind of the spot that is the hemisphere between our upper and our lower body. Okay, so we can become very tight here, and then all of our breathing happens up through the collarbones using our secondary respiratory muscles, which makes the shoulders and neck cranky, rather than moving through the rib cage. So the other thing to kind of just keep in your mind's eye, and if this doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you, but I'm a body nerd, so kind of understanding how the pieces and parts move helps me move better. So if you're like me, then this will be helpful, and if you're not, then paint another image. And I'll try to paint another image. But if you think about your ribs, they attach to the sternum, and then if you follow the rib around, it attaches to the vertebra of the spine. So think of each rib as a bucket handle. So if you've ever washed your floor with a bucket, you know that the handle can be down along the side, and then when you lift it up. So with each breath, all of your ribs are doing that. They're pivoting. These are joints. Okay, these are joints. So at the spine and at the breastbone, with each breath, that bucket handle is moving, is pivoting, is massaging the joint on the spinal vertebra, is massaging the joint on the breastbone. So think of your rib cage as a collection of bucket handles. And so with each breath, you want those bucket handles lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. Yeah, with less happening up here. So I want you, everybody just take a deep breath. So now don't change what you would do based on what I just described.
I have severe osteoporosis in my whole spine. So is that okay to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually good for you to do because you're going to create some gentle movement there, which will keep the joint functioning better than if you don't breathe, which has other ramifications too. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in. Biggest breath you can. And then let it out. Okay, so now I want you to become aware. I want you to breathe deep again. I want you to notice, do you lift up? And does this kind of come up, or does this move out more? Okay, it goes up. Okay, so what's great about that is, now, for those of you that want to feel your feet and your legs, take a deep breath. Do you lose your connection with the earth? Do you lift off your legs a little bit?
It feels like it.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a couple of things, because the one constant on this planet at least is gravity. So there's a lot more energy being used every time you're pushing straight up against gravity, right? On all of the systems of your body, than when you move this way. Does that make sense? So just think of this as like hot rod tuning for the sports car. Your body is the sports car. So you're just going to make these little micro adjustments to tune your sports car. Okay, great. So, with the breathing, you want to just notice when you take a deep breath, and it does other stuff to the blood chemistry too, because it creates a hyperventilation, but I'm not going to get into all that. If you're curious, you can email me and I'll forward you some information. So ideally, if you have a scarf or a TheraBand from your physio or a bathrobe tie that you bring around your lower ribs, and then just practice just breathing with awareness and feel. You don't have to make your breath deeper, but just allow the awareness that is to move into these bottom ribs. Now, another way to do that even more gently, and for some of you might work better, is roll a towel and place it under the rib cage and lay on your side. Not in bed, because bed's too soft, but on the floor. Yoga mat works too. So you can roll the yoga mat and depending on your rib cage suppleness will determine how big the roll is. So to start, it might be pretty small, and it depends how firm your mat is. But then this would come down, and now I'm having to bend over the mat. I would like a pillow underneath my head if it was ideal. And then I'm just going to breathe, just with awareness of feeling my breath on the roll. I might do 10 or 15 breaths on this side and then 10 or 15 breaths on the other side. And that'll just start to help, again, getting these intercostal muscles a little more active versus these secondary. These guys are only used to run from the bear. There's a bank robber, I gotta get out of here. We go into fight or flight. These get used to take us to that panting. But if we're using them all the time, we're impacting our nervous system, and we're wearing out muscles that aren't meant to work that way in a consistent.
Do you have any idea what percentage of the population breathes in the
Lots. Yeah. Okay,
You're
so,
spreading the lower limbs up, the lower ribs out.
yeah, think of them like bucket handles.
Okay, when you say bucket handle, do you mean like when there's one handle on a bucket, or do you mean that's two-sided?
I mean a bucket handle on a bucket. Each rib is like that. So on your bucket,
Wired ones?
yeah, so on your bucket you've got an attachment on this side and an attachment on that side. Rib cage is the same. You've got an attachment here and an attachment here. When I'm at rest and not breathing, my bucket handle is here. When I inhale, my bucket handle, all of them simultaneously should be doing this.
So there's like 5 of them going up and down.
Yeah, there's like
So
12.
it's
Yeah.
not on the top of the bucket, it's on the side of the bucket.
Yeah.
Moving down a bit.
So each rib ought to be pivoting like this if it's moving well. You'll have the separation here. And you'll also have it where then if you're sitting, so come up onto the front of your chair.
But you want the ribs to go up. You want them to go out.
Yes, yes. So not this, but this. Think breathing into your lateral body. So think about the space between your arms and your torso.
Would that work the same way if you were leaning on the wall
Yes,
and pressing?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
so if you're sitting, I want you to come onto your sit bones. So your ischial tuberosities are the bones. You bring your fingers underneath your bum, between your bum and your chair. When you're right up on them, it hurts. Your fingers, it's bony. Okay? Yeah. It's bony. Okay. So then you're gonna take your fingers out. You're gonna take your fingers out. So now, what I want you to do is you're up on your sit bones. The pelvis is just gonna stay here. So wherever you want to put your hands. For some of you, it might be good here. For some of you, it might be good here. For some of you, it might come here. I want you to think about your right hip. Where your right hip is in space. Now, this has got to lengthen. Okay, so I want you to think about leaning in the opposite direction, right from the waistband on your right. And only go as far as you don't feel this leg start to lift up or you don't lose that sit bone. Okay, and now to come back up, don't just lift the head up. I want you to come up from that right side of the waist. The head's the last piece to come up. Okay, so let's go to the right again. Now I want you to notice as you go to the right, do you do something with the shoulders? So instead of moving from here, do you cock the shoulders? So see if you can keep the shoulders quiet. Feel the top of the pants. And you're going to side bend over just as far as you maintain feeling both sit bones. Once you're over, just take a couple of breaths. Notice, did I come to some place where now I can't breathe? And then you want to back it up. Okay, so now again, don't just lift the head to come out. Feel this side and bring yourself up. Okay, and then just notice how you feel left to right, having bent to the one side. And we're going to go to the other side, so become aware of the left side of the waist. And you're going to side bend just as far as you maintain feeling both sit bones. So all your weight hasn't shifted over to this side. Your spine's just like a pipe cleaner. And then you're going to come back from this side. Okay, good. And then one more time to that side. And then you're going to come on back up. And then just feel your arms. Maybe bring your hands up as the body nerd would, and just feel your collarbones. So these are your clavicles or your collarbones. So there's a space between them. Then they come out. The collarbone comes right out to here, and then the shoulder blades or the scapula on the back, they actually come up and there's a piece. So if you come up onto the top of the shoulder, this bone that you feel up here, this is the top of your shoulder blade. And it runs parallel with the collarbone. And then the collarbone and scapula form the joint that then the humerus bone comes up to, and that's your shoulder joint. It isn't like your hip where it's ball and socket. They're just relating to one another and attached by ligaments, okay? But there's a little kind of hook on the top of the shoulder blade that if the blades don't move when you move your arm, then what happens is it gets caught on the little hook. So what will happen is either you lift the rib cage up in order to get the arm up and get something off the shelf, or or you might kind of side bend in order to get the arm up, but you do something funky other than just move the arm because the blade has gotten stuck. I want you to just kind of picture the collarbone, the shoulder blades, and your arms. And think of them as like the shoulder girdle ring. So it's like a ring that floats on top of the rib cage. So the collarbones, the shoulder blades, and the arms, if they're like a ring, they're just slipped on top of the top 2 or 3 ribs. And they're kind of floating there, okay? So get that sort of picture in your mind's eye. Feel your shoulder blades, and we're just going to do some movements of the blades. And I want you to notice your shoulder girdle ring. So the blades, I want you just to elevate them. Okay, and then let them come down. Now I want you to see if you can elevate them. Notice whether you're inhaling or exhaling when you elevate them. Okay, see if you can elevate them when you exhale. Just see. Okay, so that's a place that you could start to play, because wouldn't it be nice if your shoulder blades could do whatever they wanted, however you were breathing, right? Yeah. So it just gives you greater flexibility, really, right? Greater choice. Yeah. So if you notice that they only come up when you inhale, then that's again, you've kind of limited your movement repertoire. So a place that you could play is just literally playing with, can I move them on the exhale? Right? Just kind of notice. So now let's elevate the blades. Now I want you to notice, do the arms kind of do this to move the blades? And see if you can bring a little more harmony to the blades and arms moving, like think of an orchestra. So I don't want to hear just the snare drum. We want to hear the French horns and the flutes and the guitar. We want to hear everything being all the pieces of the shoulder girdle, right? So let's elevate. And then retract the blades, so slide them towards one another. And then release it down. So elevate the blades, slide them towards one another, and release them down. And again, just find that range where there's as much harmony as you can have between the arms, the collarbones, the shoulder blades. And maybe bring a hand to your bottom ribs, and as you're moving the blades, notice, does your rib cage move too? And can you move the blades without moving the rib cage? So again, that back tie or scarf can be handy here instead of your hand. You could have that tied around here and then play with these shoulder rolls, okay?
So don't move your ribs or move your shoulders.
We'd like to be able to move the shoulder blades and our arms without the rib cage having to go. Yeah. Because if we are unable to move the blades and the arms without moving the rib cage, then every time, we're lacking mobility through the shoulders, so we want to try to get that back. And the other thing is that over time you're going to wear out joints that aren't meant to be utilized that way, because then if every time to move my blades I'm moving my spine, I'm going to wear out my spine, because I should be able to move my arm without anything happening through my spine. But if my tissue gets tangled, then every arm movement is now a spinal movement, which isn't ideal. And then the other movement we're going to do is I want you to come up and hold on to the back of your chair. So position yourself so that you've got a hold of the chair and the arms just out from you. But the shoulders relaxed here. Okay, and so just notice how much bend is there in your elbow. And you don't need to change it. It doesn't need to be straighter than it is. Just notice what it is. Okay, and then what you're going to do is we're going to turn away from that arm. Okay, so now come back. The arm doesn't move. So my arm is here. If I do this, did my arm move? Yes, right? If I do this, my arm is moving with me. So then I'm not affecting anything in the shoulder because I've taken the shoulder with me, so to speak. So I want you to think here, this is a hinge. You're opening a door. So you're only moving as far as this hinge point is happy to go. So not quite that far, Linda. No, not quite that far, Greg. Think about taking your whole body. So I'm a pig on a spit. I'm turning, and I'm just going to go as far as I can go without taking the whole body. Yeah, and then just feel your feet here. Let your arm rest on the chair. Okay, and then you're going to come on back. And you're going to go to the other side. Before you go to the other side, just stand for a second and notice your right and left arms, your right and left sides. And if there's a difference side to side. Okay, and then you're going to bring the other hand to the chair and you'll do the same thing. Okay, and then come on back. And then the other way that we can use the chair, you guys might need a little bit more room, is hold on to the chair with the hand that you've got, and then the other hand can come on the hip. And then when we were in the chair, we were side bending without moving the pelvis. So this time, if you want, the pelvis goes and you side bend. What I want you to notice is, pretend you're between two panes of glass. So you're only going to move laterally to the degree that you don't twist the hips or the shoulders. Okay. And then just take a few breaths just to feel that outside leg and feel that outside side of the rib cage. Just take 3 easy breaths here, feeling that outside side of the rib cage. And remember, the means is the end. So if you're going into pain here, back yourself up. Okay, and then you're going to come back up to standing. Just take a second, let go of the chair, and notice your left and your right sides. You might feel taller or lighter on one side. Okay, so in standing, just notice how you feel left to right. And then we're going to do one more thing with that chair. So if you've got the tables, no, we'll do this with the chair. So you're going to hold on to the back of the chair, and then you're going to start to walk your hips back. And when you start to move the hips back, the shoulder is also going to come into flexion, right? So how far the hips go is going to be determined by how much flexion the arms come into before the spine rounds. So think the movements of the hips and the shoulders. Spine is just staying neutral. So it's the same as when I'm here. I'm just now changing my relationship to gravity. Okay, good.
Knees are bent though?
Pardon?
Knees are bent?
Knees can be bent. Yeah, I've got a little bend in mine. So you can walk your feet back further if you want, Linda. There you go. Okay, good. So now palms are on the back of the chair. I want you to just feel your right elbow. And you're going to take your right elbow and bend it towards the floor. Okay, hopefully you feel the shoulder blade slide with that elbow. Yes? Okay, now only move the elbow and the blade as far as you're not rotating the torso. Okay, so just one more movement there of that right elbow, and now you're going to do the left elbow. So this could be a kitchen counter. Okay, but we want to connect the blade and the arm movement without moving the rib cage and the torso. That's it. Good, and then keep the hands in the chair. You're going to walk your feet back on up. And then we're going to have a seat in the chair again. Anyone else getting warm?
It's warm in there.
We did a little bit of movement in there.